back to another episode of The Sam Show here on Auntie Tay's YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to Auntie Tay's channel if you aren't already for all the magical, crafty content. Today, I wanted to talk about makeup brushes and traveling with makeup brushes. I know I can't be the only one that just shoves them in my makeup bag, but today not only are we making a convenient way to roll up and take care of all of our makeup brushes when we travel, but we are also making some super sparkly, special makeup brushes for our trip. So let's get started. Hey everyone, it's Sam from the Auntie Tay team, and you're watching The Sam Show. Let's go make some fun things. We are going to start with the makeup brushes. These are the makeup brushes I use. You can get them on Etsy or Amazon, and they're just already empty for glittering and all the things. And they do come with a case, but this one had snowflakes in it, and I'm not about snowflakes in the summertime. It is cute though, and I will use it for something else. For the glitter, I am using IPP's glitter. I am using Rapscallion from the Auntie Tay line and Groovy Purple Graham XL from their hologram glitter line. And I'm also using these silver holographic Mickey heads that came in an Auntie Tay mystery box a long time ago. I like using baby oil for mine. You can also use distilled water and glycerin, but I like using baby oil. Your brushes will come with little rubber stoppers as well, and we will be gluing those on using the super tight brush tip super glue. This is an instant bond. I really like this one. I like using a shallow cup to hold my brushes while I'm working on them, and I also use a medicine cup and a little stir stick to mix my glitter and baby oil in. To get started, I like to take the ends off all of my makeup brushes. So it's kind of confusing because the big ones, the top brush part comes off, and then for the skinny ones, the bottom actually comes off. Don't break your brushes trying to pull apart the top. It's kind of deceiving since two are one way and the rest are another. But pull the bottom off the small ones. In your measuring cup, put no more than 10 to 15 mLs of baby oil. You really do not need a lot. You just want enough to wet your glitter so that it helps prevent bubbles when you put it in the brushes. I am using mostly Rapscallion. I wanted my color to mainly be a silver holographic, and then just a little bit of the Groovy Purple. My inspiration for these brushes are actually the Disney 100. I love the purple and holographic and like the pastel vibes that Disney is doing. Then I am using my little stir stick, a different dry one that I am using to put little Mickey heads in. I only did a couple scoopfuls because the Mickey heads are bigger, and in the skinnier brushes I don't want them to get clogged up, but I do want some hidden Mickeys in there. When picking your glitter colors for this project, you do not really want to use ultra fine glitter. If you have a mix that has a little bit of ultra fine, that's fine, but you really want to avoid it because it tends to get clumped up in this type of project. So stick with mixes and those chunky bigger glitters. And if you didn't know, IPP, aka It's Pretty Personal, is an Auntie Tay partner, and you can save 20 to 30% on their glitters. And Auntie Tay has an amazing line of glitters. That's what the Rapscallion is from. And IPP has so many colors. Literally, you're going to love them all. So you're just going to make like a liquidy paste out of the baby oil and the glitter. You just really want the glitter to be coated and liquidy enough that it's easy to put in the end of the brushes, but I don't like using a ton of baby oil in the beginning because it gets to be kind of hard to balance the amount of glitter versus baby oil, and you can spend a lot of time trying to make everything really equal. So you can see I am just using my stir stick to put the mixture into the brush. For the bigger brushes, I just put the mixture right in, but for the skinnier brushes, I do put a tiny bit of baby oil in the brush first, just so that it helps move it along. The skinny brushes are really thin, so it's a little bit harder than the bigger brushes. Then I fill the glitter about halfway up. That's the amount I like. You don't want to fill it too much because then the glitter won't really move, but you could also do a dry version of this and not use the baby oil at all. Or you can pack it as much as you want. But I think the best ratio is either a third of glitter or about half. And then once I'm done putting the glitter in, you could see that I put about like 3/4 of the way full of baby oil. I do that just so it helps the glitter move on the way down, and then we can go back and look at the levels of it later to make sure that all of the brushes have the same amount of glitter in them. I mix only a small amount of glitter and baby oil at a time. I don't like having a lot left over. So you can either make a big batch right away or do like I do and do small little batches. Okay, so we're gonna speed things up and you're gonna fill all of your makeup brushes up about halfway with glitter and then about 3/4 of the way with baby oil. Then we are going to see how they all look compared to each other because it's very hard to get them all equal first go around. So then I just try to compare them all to each other and add a little bit to the ones that need it. This is why you don't want to fill them all the way up in the get-go because then you'll have to pour it out and that gets complicated. Okay, so once they're all looking pretty equal, you can get as perfect as you want with them. Then you're gonna fill them up to the ledge, the little lip, with baby oil. You do want to still have air in your brushes. That is what helps the glitter move, but you don't want a ton of air. So this is where I found is like the best results for this each size brush. So if you fill it up to little lip on the big brushes and the skinny brushes, that's about perfect. I like to use a Q-tip to clean the inside little lip of them off. You want to try to get rid of as much baby oil as possible. If the outside edge is also full of baby oil, use a paper towel to clean that off. The baby oil will prevent the glue from adhering and you could get leaks over time. I like to set the little rubber stopper in the top then, but do not push it in yet. Just let it sit on top. The bigger ones are a little bit harder to get on, so I use the edge of my nail to just kind of pop it in. Once again, do not push it all the way in just yet. So once you have those all ready to go, then we are going to take our super tight instant super glue. I do like to wear a glove so that I don't super glue my fingers because this can get very messy, so protect yourself and wear a glove. This glue is very goopy and you do not need a lot. What I do is just brush around the edge of the rubber stopper and then push it in with my gloved finger, trying to use my nail and not touching it a ton, but this will super glue the stopper into the barrel of the brush. So then repeat that for all of them. Try to not have them touch each other just in case a little bit of the super glue leaked over the top because you can have them stick to each other. I have a baby wipe nearby to wipe stuff off if I do get any extra super glue on stuff because it can stain pretty easily. Okay, so finish up all the brushes, pushing the stoppers in. Now we are going to do the same thing, but with the end cap. I just like to give the super glue a little bit of time to dry on the stopper before I do the end cap. So you're going to do a very thin layer along the top edge. I don't like doing it too far down, and on the very bottom of the stopper, and then I twist the cap on. This helps make sure the glue goes all the way around all the edges, and it also prevents it from gooping up at the bottom because you don't want the super glue to goop out the bottom. Use a very thin layer. That is what you're going to do for the skinny makeup brushes. For the big makeup brushes, we're going to have to do something a little different because every package of these I've ever gotten, no matter how many years I've gotten them for, the big brushes are always super loose. So I take a hot glue gun and do like 3/4 of the way full of hot glue, enough that it's not going to prevent the end from fitting on. But it is going to be very hot. You're going to let it set and cool down. Do not try to put it on right now. Off camera, I did a small dab of hot glue on the cooled hot glue, and then now we are going to do the same thing with the super glue and put it around the edge and twist it on. And I don't know why, it seems to work. The hot glue kind of forms in around it, and if you need to, use a Q-tip to try to get some of that excess off. And guys, we have our super cute, amazing glitter brushes. I have found the best way to get the glitter from unstuck from one way or another is just moving it back and forth. That bubble that you made sure you had in there will push the glitter back and forth, and then if you store your brushes flat, you'll have a lot less clogging over time from glitter bunching down on one end. I absolutely love these, and it's really hard to see. You probably won't see any of them, but the hidden Mickeys in there are just so extra spectacular. Look at that movement. Oh my goodness. I love it. Okay, we are not done yet. I know. It's going to be worth it. Just wait. I have 2 sheets of construction paper, just regular paper, heat taped together because we are going to use another anti-tape partner, Artistry, and their sublimation acrylic paint. Oh my gosh, it's so fun. So the Artistry colors come in the primary colors and then white and black. The colors are very deceiving when they are in paint form versus what they come out to. So I like to do a little test swatch first before I paint my big piece. And I really wanted to go for a lighter color. So I did purple and pink and blue. So you can see how it was darker on the one end, and then finally I got it to be lighter where I wanted it to be. I really like the watercolor look, and these paints can be pretty thick, so I sprayed my paper down, and then I just went in and I drew little Mickey heads in really brush strokey ways. I didn't wash my brush off in between, and I just tried to not get a ton of paint on there, and then I dripped a bunch of paint all over. I absolutely love how it came out. Want it to be completely dry, so I use a hairdryer to speed up the process. And then this is a different sheet, but I'm showing you how you're going to take your 100% polyester fabric and you're going to tape on as flat and as best as possible your piece onto your fabric. I use a lot of heat tape. This is the best way. I did end up getting a line where I taped the pieces together, so I'm still figuring that out. But this is how both of the pieces turned out. I sublimated them at 385 to 400 degrees for about 50 seconds each, and I love it. So this one, I did a bunch of hidden Mickeys, and I did it a lot more coverage of paint. but then this is the one that I want to use for our makeup roll, and I kind of left more white in between and splattered it, and I love how that one turned out. On the Auntie membership, under sewing, there is this makeup brush roll sewing pattern that was designed and created by April from Tis So Sweet. April has everything you need to know on that pattern, and I went ahead and already cut everything to size. She said to have one exterior fabric, 2 pieces of an interior fabric, and then 2 pieces of ribbon. 4 dimensions. Check out April's pattern on the membership. Then also per April's instructions, she said if you are using a sublimated fabric, aka polyester, that you're going to want to use an interfacing. So I already fused that on the back, ironed that on, and that gets rid of the stretch. The interfacing I used was the SF101 Pellon, which you can actually get at Walmart too if you need to. Taking my interior fabrics, I am going to fold one the long way and iron it. It said to do wrong sides together. My fabric's hard to tell which side is the wrong side, so just follow the PDF to a T. Line that piece up with your other piece that's unfolded, and you're going to pin it together, making sure the raw edge is matching the raw edge of the other piece. Then we are going to sew along that outside edge with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Easy peasy. This is a great beginner sewing project. Taking our gorgeous brushes that we made, we are going to line them up to see about the spacing that we want for them. So like the bigger brushes, I want them to have a little bit of a bigger pocket versus the smaller ones. Then I like to use Marvy's erasable fabric marker to mark where I'm going to put the pockets with a ruler. Marvy is also an Auntie partner. So if you were wondering, I am doing about 1.5 inches for the bigger brushes and 1 inch for the smaller brushes. I marked out a pocket for every brush, and then I did a couple more skinny pouches and then 2 bigger pouches at the end. So it's going to fit all my brushes that I made and then some, which is awesome. So then we are going to just do a straight stitch along all of those lines that we just drew. So you probably won't notice, but my bobbin ran out and then my thread ran out. So I did change up the colors. I used a purple thread for this on top, and I really like it. You can't really notice it compared to the white, but just so you know, I was struggling. I wasn't struggling from the pattern. The pattern's super easy, but you know, sewing problems. Okay, then with our ribbons, about 3 inches from the top with about 1 inch overhang, we are going to do a basting stitch to tack the ribbons down. I put a pin in to hold it while I get it to my machine, and then I pull the needle out once I have my presser foot on it, and then you just go back and forth a couple times across it. You just want to make sure it's tacked down really good, and you do a couple stitches behind and before it to make sure it doesn't slip out. Now you're going to take your ribbon and tuck it into one of the pockets. You just want to make sure it's not going to come into contact with the edge, because we are going to take the exterior fabric, lay it right sides together, pin it together so we can sew the outside of it. So you're going to pin around the whole outside, but then you're going to leave a 3-inch gap at the bottom where the pockets are. So now we're going to sew around the whole outside edge with a 1/2 inch seam allowance and sew everything but that 3-inch gap. You will want to go a little bit slower along the pocket edge so that it's not too hard on your machine. And then you are going to trim as close as possible all the edges and corners, except that 3-inch part we marked off. You're going to turn it right side out and make sure you get all of the corners pushed out. The reason we leave that 3-inch gap is so that it makes it easier to iron, and make sure all your seams are pushed out and iron your piece flat. Also be careful of your ribbon if it is made of more plastic so you don't accidentally melt it. So then I'm going to pin that opening closed, and we are going to do a top stitch around the entire outside of our makeup roll. So get it pinned really well so it's not going to come undone. Make sure it's pressed really well. And then let's do a top stitch around this whole outer edge. You want it to be about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, or as close as you can safely get without it being too thick of material, depending on your machine. We are all done with today's tutorials. I tied it all up. It's so easy to tie it and untie it in a cute little bow, and wouldn't you rather chuck that in your makeup bag and then you can sprawl them all out and they are there for your grabbing. I know this tutorial was a lot more than normal and it was jam-packed with so many different techniques and things to do, but this is one of my favorite projects I think I've done with the Auntie Tay membership and the Auntie Tay partners. I loved how I was able to customize every little detail of this to make it something that I truly love, from the glitter I used to the color of the fabric. And I'm not just going to use this pattern for makeup brushes. I totally want to do it for my nicer paint brushes. Also, watercolor pencils. I mean, literally, it's so versatile. And I hope you guys absolutely loved it. And thank you for sticking with me. See you next time.